Captain's Log Supplemental.
Hey Jeremy, you know those race cars you're busy building?
Yeah, I do. I
You,
got one that I'm looking at every day.
you know what I don't see you working on?
You don't see me working on the amazing Sentinel system yet.
That's true. It would take all of 10 minutes for you to have one.
And it's very quick and easy to install.
It is. It is. And we could watch you when we are not at the race with you and see how you're doing. And then we can call you up when you get out of the car and tell you everything you did wrong.
And I love that because so many years I've been driving and not been able to see what I'm doing.
I know.
And now we can.
I know. You know what I'd like to do with the video? My most favorite thing is I take the video and I load it on YouTube and then I send it to my coach and say, look at 26 minutes and 17 seconds. Look at this one lap and tell me what I can do better. And every single time, you know what they say?
Everything.
Exactly. Precisely. So with the Sentinel system, you get instantaneous feedback plus useful feedback that unfortunately is accurate for my driving.
I think it's accurate for all of our driving.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's probably true. Yep. But you need to get one in your car, sir.
Yes, I do. And with the discount code that you're going to tell everybody, they can save 10% on this awesome system.
Yep. Trouble-free. I haven't had an issue getting video every time we've gone out with the Sentinel. It's always worked. Can't say the same for some of the other systems we've tried. So I don't know. It's on the podcast notes down there. Don't do it while you're driving, though. We like to have our listeners live. It's good.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Get to your
Thank you.
tongue twisters.
There we go.
All right. Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name's Bill. Wow, my voice changed. I'm like Bobby Brady. Who else is hosting?
Half our audience probably doesn't know who Bobby Brady is.
That's okay. Who else is
But-
hosting?
I'm Vicki.
There you are. Miss Vicki,
Uh-huh.
returning
Yeah.
guest, returning
Yep.
house guest,
Yep.
returning Lemons Racer,
Yep.
returning.
Thank you for the hospitality.
Yeah, well, got to make up for my look somewhere, sir. Let's see. Do we go with Sir Jackie Stewart's Coin Purse Racing, or do we go with Vagabond, or do we go with Silent but Deadly Racing, or do we go with Space Pants? Who knows? I don't know. Unofficial 24-hour Lemons Facebook group master something.
Founder, one
Founder.
of the admin team.
Yep. You know the voice. He's been here before. You've seen him at races. Welcome back, Scott McMichael. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Scott, you were subjected to my presence for well over 12 hours. No one
Yeah.
else has survived besides Vicki.
Mhm.
When she
Well,
tagged out a lot.
cumulatively, there's all the trips up to the hangar too. So
No, true.
Ah.
True. I meant at one straight burst. So,
yeah,
so as a payment for being a trooper and putting up with me for that long, we thought we'd talk about it some more.
Yeah.
let's extend that a little.
Yeah, let's make it more painful. So, I think that how did this start? You sent me hey, do you want to go watch circle track racing Friday or Saturday?
Yeah, Friday night. I
Friday
think I
night.
messaged you Wednesday. Said, hey, want to go watch some sprint cars on Friday at Williams Grove?
And I was like, I can't do Friday because we had a podcast going that night. And then you're like,
So-
how about Saturday night?
Yeah.
And then I was
Which-
like, I can't go Saturday, but you could come with me if you wanted to. And
It turned out that was the better choice because the tracks were rained out. The circle tracks were rained out Saturday night anyway.
Really?
Hmm.
did it rain? Didn't rain up here.
Down in central PA, it did. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Well, then we definitely won.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what did we end up doing, sir?
Well, track day, bro.
Track day, bro.
We took Miss Vicky's streetcar up to Pineview Run
Yep.
Auto and Country Club
Mm-hmm.
and turned some laps.
We did. It's about, how far is it from you to us?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So it's another hour and a half, hour 45.
Mm-hmm.
Up there. And then we spent the entire day there. Our friend Mario Gorf, former podcast guest,
Right.
twice over, maybe 3 times over. I have an Excel sheet to keep track of it. I know no one's surprised. He was setting up something to help the track, and there was a race there. So we said, sure, we'll go, and we did. So,
Yes, we did.
So you had not been there before. It's a pretty nice drive, especially this time of year, going up that way.
Yeah, I had no idea it existed. I looked
Really?
it up and I saw the Finger Lakes, and I thought, well, gosh, a trip to the Finger Lakes on a Saturday, that alone sounds pleasant.
Mhm.
Put that with hanging out at the track, you've got me sold. And then possibly sitting in a driver's seat. Heck
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
sign me up.
He says, heck yeah.
Well, your response was, I don't think my F-150 is going to be good on the track. And I said, well, we have you covered, sir.
Yeah, yep. I said that was my first comment. I don't think my F-250 is appropriate.
Mm-hmm. So we got you covered. We decided to go, autocross tradition and share a car and not bring 2 cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you were subjected to my presence for the entire ride up and the entire ride back. And I think it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Let's see, it's pretty close to Syracuse, I think is probably the closest town.
Yeah, it's Cortland.
Yeah. So little
Lafayette,
Lafayette.
according to my GPS. And close to Ithaca, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we went
Yeah.
past Ithaca on the way, or the exit for Ithaca. So
Mhm.
pretty good day. So let's start with how was the track for you?
Well, so this is the first time I've been on something that much of a country club. I've been to Audubon Country Club and Gingerman Speedway and places like that are country clubs, but also host legitimate wheel-to-wheel races.
Mm-hmm.
This was, definitely much more of a country club as
Mhm.
opposed to a racing facility. So,
I don't think
no hard
Lemons is going.
walls.
I don't think Lemons is going there anytime soon.
No.
No.
I don't remember seeing any hard walls. I think even pit road was a wooden split rail fence.
Yeah. I think the worst thing is that one little pond.
Mhm. Well, and I didn't know about the pond, and I didn't notice the pond. I got home and I wrote up my little Facebook update, and one of my friends commented, "Mind the pond," and I thought, is that a movie quote about racing or something? And I Google
What
imaged
pond?
I pulled it up on Google Maps, and heck, there was a pond.
We
And
were standing right in front of it, right?
I realized afterwards, how did I miss that? And you know what else, Bill? I think I mentioned to you that I felt like once or twice, maybe some nannies kicked in on the car
Mm-hmm.
and corrected me from a push.
Mm-hmm.
Well, both of those, I found out afterwards, I was pointing at the pond when that happened. I
Yeah.
had plenty of asphalt, so it was not like it was a close call, but
I forgot to tell you the last 2 times you went out there, I turned them all off. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, my bad.
you mentioned that after we were done, but
I didn't want to scare you.
yeah.
Maybe
Maybe that's why I was getting the tires to chatter that last stint.
Chitter chatter.
Much more fun.
Yeah. So it was a little narrow in some spots, and then other places really wide. Coming up out of that valley, there was so much asphalt.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of patchwork there, and some uneven transitions with all the different configurations and things that gave the suspension some interesting workouts.
Yeah. It's got the original small track, which had multiple options. it's one of those tracks where I always say you're never not busy. Like you're
Mhm.
always doing something. It's not like you sit there and relax on a straightaway for a while. There is essentially no straightaway. It's turn entry or turn exit and
Yeah.
entry right after it. So
Yeah, I was regretting not wearing my gloves when we were done
mhm.
because your hands are busy
They are quite
the
busy.
entire lap. There were a few places where, especially where that patch of pavement was on the downhill,
Hmm.
probably about turn three, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely did not want to put Miss Vicky's right side tires over that. It looked a little gnarly, so I stayed clear of that. And my coach mentioned it, so that was I'm glad that my coach mentioned that because it would have been easy to have drifted out there. Um, and what else did I see there? So another thing about the track was just that the variety of cars we were out there with.
Yeah,
Um, I'm trying to remember what probably the least performance oriented car was while I was on track. It was probably us or
it was us.
um, maybe the Hyundai, but even the Hyundai was like an N type with lots of modifications, and
Yeah, I
those didn't
think
appear to be stock tires.
no, I think you and I were both off the pace by about 3 seconds on a very short lap
Yeah,
from those guys.
and then there was the Ferrari, which was probably the highest end piece of
Mm,
equipment out there. Although some of the Corvettes might have had just as much money in them.
yes, it's the normal, racing pool. You've got Corvettes, you've got Camaros, you've got, uh, the import, tuner
Mhm.
scene type cars, and then you've got the how much money can I spend on a car? And
Right.
I get endless fun out of riding somebody's bumper who spent like literally 10 times more on their car than I did. So
Absolutely.
it's quite fun.
Yeah. And now the facilities themselves, the buildings and the tables and the porch and the patio and all that was great.
Hmm.
That is beautiful,
The,
isn't it?
it's really nice. You know, just hanging out in the shade, enjoying the breeze when I wasn't in the car was enjoyable, and trying to stay out of the sun because it
Yes.
was a nice, bright, sunny, cool day. It wasn't hot unless you were standing in the sun.
Yeah, I was surprised on the next day because I realized how much I was in the sun. I was surprised the next day I didn't have any sunburn. So I was quite happy about that. That was
Yeah,
a welcome surprise.
right.
It's a good time, no?
How many
So
cars were there?
About 10 or 12.
yeah, somewhere 10, 12, maybe 15 tops. There wasn't as many as I would have thought there was going to be because there was a club member um, time
Challenge.
attack trial challenge. Yeah. So there was only a few cars that showed up to that, and then they had their season ending ceremony while we were there. So um, it was good. There was a couple go karts too. We forgot about them.
Yeah, yeah.
They got out there a little bit. So let's see. You typically drive rear wheel drive cars when we play together on the racetrack,
Yeah.
and the Integra, unless you spin it, is usually front wheel drive.
Hmm.
If you're spinning it, it could be front wheel drive, then rear wheel drive, then front wheel drive, then rear wheel drive. But thankfully, neither one of us did that to Miss Vicky's car because she would be very unhappy with us. But
Right.
what was the differences? Did you notice anything different? Was it a big deal?
Well, actually, I went back and looked at some stats because I'm that kind of guy, right?
Hmm.
So I started out with rear wheel drive in dirt, and because it's circle track racing, I'm pretty comfortable drifting the back end. And in fact, sometimes um, I'll have the Thunderbird stepping out in turns, and I'll have to remind myself that that's not the fast way around. And I got to knock that off and figure out a way to drive the car that doesn't make that back end kick out. So, you know, obviously, no, that was not happening in a front wheel drive car. And then I
No.
went through my list of 17 cars I've driven in Lemons, and five of them were front wheel drive. But of the races I've run, and I did the math on this too, so 27 races I've run, 12 have been front wheel drive,
Hmm.
but 10 of those were my first 10 races. So
It's been a
I've
while.
only driven front wheel drive twice in the last 17 races, and those are with my little EXP. and I think a Dodge Neon out of Tetanus. And, they're not huge on the horsepower.
It's almost the same as Miss Vicky's car. Almost.
I wish the EXP made that kind of horsepower. It's more like a lawnmower. I think it's 70 horsepower from the factory.
I mean, the Integra is probably, well, it's not four-wheel drive. I was going to say it's probably 70 per wheel, but there's not four-wheel drive, so no. It's a little different.
Yeah. So I was mentally, I remembered the things that I had learned from front-wheel drive racing. That you can sometimes power your way out of a push and things like that. But the muscle memory wasn't there at all. And it took me a while to get acclimated to it and build up confidence that the back end wasn't going to skip out on me. But I think, by the second run, I was pretty comfortable in the car. And then it was just, learning what this exact car could do. And I was no longer thinking so much about front wheel drive. I was thinking more about lines and behavior from the previous lap and what could I do different. So the front wheel drive took, 30 minutes to get used to, but after that I was pretty good with it.
Yeah. You dropped quite a bit through the day. I think you dropped over 3 seconds and the lap's not that long. So that was good.
Yeah. After the first run, I thought I was in the 140 somethings.
No.
When I got out of the car, you told me I turned a faster lap than that, but obviously I wasn't watching the device up there on the windshield. But the times that I noticed it, I saw like a 149 and a 145. So when I got out of the car and you told me the best time I had turned, I was a little surprised. But then, I think I was out for about 10 minutes by myself that first stint.
Right.
And I was worried I didn't want to cook your brakes, Miss Vicki. So
no, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so I brought it in after 10. Then Bill went out for the full 20 and the car didn't run out of brakes for him. So the next time out I went for the full 20.
It did slightly complain, to be fair, on when I came back in, but it's fine.
It was an interesting scene. The car was just parked there serenely with a little tuft of smoke wafting out of the front rims. I took a little video to capture it, but I'm not. It's barely there.
It was much more visually present by our eyes than the camera. So
right.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think? Like usually, when we race lemons, especially lemons, the cars are not quite as modern as a 2024. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think there's a 2024 eligible lemons car at this point. Probably about 10
do
years
they still
away.
make the Mitsubishi, the little tiny Mitsubishi hatchback? That's probably the only thing that I think Eric Root has always said you could bring a brand new one and they would not penalize it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, no, I hope they don't make those.
That was a 2023.
It might not be made anymore, but a couple of years ago we talked about it. Was it the MIEV? Maybe I'm not sure, but
yeah. Well, it's a little different than that, but did you have to do anything different with a new car versus an older car?
Well, I certainly felt like I had way more throttle response than anything I've driven in lemons in the last decade. It's funny because, as I mentioned at the track, I didn't realize it was turbocharged until we were done.
Right.
And then after I knew that fact, I was able to go back and say, okay, so the behavior I observed in the the 180, the tight 180 there right before the final straightaway, I was feeling like I needed to get the RPMs up to be in the power band to come off the turn. And I experienced that all the time in the Thunderbird and all the time in my own EXP. What I didn't realize was that I was not getting the turbo. And once I knew after the fact, oh, it's a turbocharged car, then it completely made sense that I was waiting for the turbo to spool up as I exited that corner. Same principle, just for different reasons,
Right. Yeah, it's a little 2-liter, and it doesn't really have like the turbo lag, the huge shove,
Hmm.
but it does have, well, it's got VTEC as well. So it's kind of got both.
Yeah.
So
We throw a
but
supercharger on there, and you've got the trifecta of
yeah,
win.
we could be triple.
Mhm.
I don't think Miss Vicky's gonna let me put a supercharger on anything. But
No, the turbo was real smooth, and that's the thing. I've had a WRX, and you can tell when that thing kicked in. You feel it push it back in your seat, and you had to drive around it a little bit.
mhm,
You had to be careful with how much linear throttle application you gave as the turbo spooled up because it was non-linear.
right.
But in this car, I was able to drive it for 40 minutes on track without even noticing the turbo, really, until you told me it was
Right.
turbo.
Yeah. So uh no real big differences for you from a Lemons type car to a Integra?
So the handling felt a lot like our Infinity, which
Hmm.
is on cut coilovers and drives a little bit like a go-kart, but it's a
Mm,
big luxury Japanese sedan, right?
right.
Um, it's a little more of a pogo stick suspension than the Acura, but kind of that tight, sticky suspension. Like it'd go exactly where I wanted it to within reason. Um, just so much more power than what I'm used to. And then, of course, while you're out there in a street car seat with a 3-point seat belt and
Mhm. Air
my,
conditioning.
mild bolstering, right?
Yeah.
Um, I especially noticed it in the passenger seat, like leaning against the door and
Hmm.
thinking to myself, sometimes in Lemons, these things pop open.
Oh,
But no, it was, yeah, the air conditioning was clutch. I mean, I noticed that on that last run. I was like, oh, that feels pretty nice on the arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It wasn't needed, but it was nice.
yeah, but no, I thought it was an excellent handling car, plenty of power, and you know, if I knew that I had brakes that could handle, an hour and a half, 2 hours, it'd make a great Lemons car.
Yeah. I think, to be fair to the car, it was flat stock OEM, like OEM tires, OEM brakes,
Hmm.
nothing done to it. So
No, no camber, no
no,
nothing.
just as delivered. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, we can't talk about this without remembering that I was thinking to myself the whole time, this is Vicky's daily.
yeah.
This is my
Well,
ride
at
home.
least until winter.
Yeah. And this is my ride home.
Yeah.
And so definitely was not gonna take it too far to the edge. But
So how was the center of gravity on it?
I didn't really feel much body roll at all. My
Okay.
body rolled. Um, I was wishing for my bolstered, you know, racing seat that
mhm.
just kind of hugs me, right?
And
Um,
harnesses.
yeah, but yeah, the 5-point just kind of snuggles you in there, right? You don't go anywhere when you've got that on. And in this case, um, I probably used some amount of energy and concentration pressing my foot to the dead pedal on the left, to keep myself firmly in the seat where I wanted to be.
Hmm.
But no, it was not. I didn't think it had much body roll at all, really. I mentioned the go kart handling of our Infinity. It was that just dialed back a couple clicks,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and in fact, there was a seam on that downhill that I felt the car kind of hop over just the way the Infinity does, where you've got a little bit of lateral force as you're running straight ahead down a hill. Um, I guess not straight ahead because you've got that lateral force, but that lateral force was enough over a slight imperfection in the pavement to make the car kind of hop 6 inches to the right
Mhm.
and then stick right to the track again. And
Hmm.
we get that out of the Infinity, but it's a little more brutal. Um, Not brutal is a little aggressive, but it's definitely tamed down a little bit in the Integra, but it's still there. You can make it skip sideways if you take the pavement just right.
Hmm.
So you get your magic wand, Scott, and we decide that that's going to be a track car. What would you change?
Well, I'd max out what you can with it, right? So can we get anything on there to like some camber plates? Can we upgrade the brakes to make them last a couple hours? Cage and seat 5-point harness. Gosh, can you imagine if you took out the interior with that same horsepower?
Well, actually, I think that's the plan in our future is we're going to run it for as long as we can. And by that time, I think we're going to attempt to give it its next best life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that amount of power in that car now is plenty.
Yep.
So, take what 1,000 pounds worth of interior out and then disable any you don't need and get them out of there too. It would be crazy powerful, I would think.
See, I think with the car, and I don't know if it's the size or the way that it could be the way that I'm driving, but it goes through gas. And I don't know if it's a small tank for a big car.
Small tank.
Small tank for a big car. It's only a 10-gallon tank that's in there. So it really goes through some gas. So I think that if it goes best life, it's probably going to have a better gas system.
Even the EXP has like 12-gallon tank and 70 horsepower. So
yeah,
I can see you would run out of fuel in 45 to 60 minutes tops.
Yeah, I mean it's great on road trips. Like it'll hold gas for road trips, but it'll suck gas for town driving.
Well, I think I asked you, Bill, on the way back, does this thing have eco mode? And you cycled through and it does not.
It does not. I think the biggest eco mode that Miss Vicki could have if she didn't want to go through gas involves her right foot. But
right. What car did have eco mode that we were using? Was one of the cars had eco mode?
I can tell you what does. It's a 2022 F250.
Yeah, one of the cars had eco mode.
Lots of them have.
I use it on that truck.
All the BMWs do. All the GTIs did.
If I'm not towing, I'm putting it in eco mode. I wish that it would default to eco mode when I start it up every day.
I'm surprised it doesn't.
Yeah.
The Cooper has eco mode, I think.
Yeah.
Is it a JCW or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I almost feel like they would take that off for the.
That was our other car. If we were taking two cars, that was the one that was going. So.
Well, that would have been interesting then, because there was another mini JCW up there that actually hit a hay bale. So that might have been tempting to have gotten out during that run group. And that was the race group. So I
wouldn't have been allowed to get out in that run group, Scott.
yeah. You and me both, though, because that was the race group. So we wouldn't have had a problem with that. But yeah, he was out there with a Camaro, and they did two different runs and gave the Camaro gave the Mini a different head start for each run to see, whether he could catch him or not.
I think that was the Mustang.
Was it a Mustang? Okay.
Yeah. Camaro
was pony car, right?
Corvette. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them.
And you're right, because it had the big old Ford logos on it. But off in the distance, out of sight, after the Mustang had been following him closely for a lap and a half, we heard some tires squeal.
Oh.
And then silence. And, we have the receiver in. So I was listening to the receiver and I hear green car off into hay bale. But then I hear, green car back on track. And he came back around and he just applied some blue tape to the front bumper.
Yeah. So what is the top speed for that track, do you think? What top gear, top speed, whatever, for that particular one?
We were seeing 94, but I don't know that you could get a whole lot faster because there's really only that one straightaway before the uphill, right, Bill?
Yeah, I think 94 was our max.
Because it's a kind of a tight track in some spots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like the Ferrari, if it was driven in anger, probably could have gotten into triple digits. Well, there's a funny story about that. I think they were more um, out for laughs. I think they were just having a fun time.
Uh-huh.
They were in the novice group, and they caught up to this Camaro and followed it around lap after lap. And they could have pulled in and gotten a gap and gone back out. They didn't do that. They just stayed on the back bumper of the Camaro.
Oh wow.
And then towards the end of the day, they took some women in the passenger seats and did some laps with the Ferrari and a couple other cars. So that's why I'm saying if it was driven in anger, I think that Ferrari probably could have beat triple digits for sure.
Yeah. Doesn't take much different.
When I was driving the car up there, because that's the car I did my introduction into over there. I felt the car was big for the track. If that makes sense.
The tracks are narrow in a lot of places.
Right. And I just felt like my car felt big and clumsy. And I can't imagine what a Corvette would feel like because, but it's a great track for, I think, like a Miata or a Honda or any kind of hot hatch. For sure. I think that would excel on that track.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to remember that 2 out of the 3 run groups were no passing without a point buy. And so with that in mind, and with the point buys, there are specific zones where you're allowed to pass even with the point buy. So from that standpoint, as long as there's, enough room to navigate a country road, you just have to keep it within limits of keep it between the green lines, right?
Right.
That'd be the grass. So it wasn't as wide as a racetrack that we're familiar with, but it was wide enough to go out and push it. I think there are cars that it would have felt, too narrow, maybe. I think that some of those Corvettes had enough money spent on them that to fully use those parts would have required wider asphalt.
Right.
Yes.
But I think that we made good use of our car on the width that they had available to them.
Yeah, there was a couple spots that were, in my mind, they were a little wider than you needed, and then there was a couple spots where I felt it was a little narrower than I would have wanted. So it was, but it's the same game for everybody. So you use what you got, and you got what you use. So
yep,
it wasn't too bad.
If that wide stretch wasn't on a hill, I'd wonder if it was supposed to be a skid pad, but that wouldn't work. It was on quite a angle there. So
no, indeed, I think the event that Mario put together was quite nice because he had a few of us up there, and then we had like our own little separate scoreboard. And I had a different plan for what we were going to do in terms of having a competition because I realized the variability of the cars was going to be quite high. But we lost a little bit of time with a timing issue on the track. So my original intent was for us to do the Chinese buffet and everybody get a shot of each other's cars, and then we either add it up or take the average because it works out to be the same. But we never got to do that. So I was supposed to drive Mario's car, and I never did. What's the matter with me?
What the heck? What kind of car did he have up there, Honda?
His Veloster N.
Yeah, with at least one aero mod, right? Did it have a little red spoiler on the back of the hatch?
Knowing Mario, it's got as many aero mods as he can figure out.
Yeah, so. Tell me about what his build was like because he was working on our aero. So I mean, what year was his Honda?
Hyundai. Yeah, Veloster N.
Hyundai.
Yeah.
Oh, his Veloster.
Yeah, the
so he
Veloster.
didn't do any modifications on that, not really.
Of course it did.
Looked like it had a roof spoiler on the back edge of the hatchback, and I don't remember seeing anything else obvious, but it might have some under work done to it. Maybe it has a diffuser underneath it or a tray or something. But it had surprisingly few winglets or aero devices like I was expecting.
Well, what year was it?
New.
He hasn't gone in and chopped on that car too much.
Of course he has.
Well,
He's Occam's racer.
okay. Well, I'm just checking.
Now the other gentleman there, Eric, what car was his again? The blue one?
It was a BRZ. It was
Okay.
first gen BRZ.
Yeah, and that one had a lot of work done to it, some of
Mhm.
it by a previous owner.
Mhm.
It had little aerodynamic devices on the outside edges of the front bumper. It had fenders that were channeled in towards the tire, behind the tire to help with the airflow.
Quite the wang.
Yeah, can't forget that.
No. It even had a nitrous bottle, which was empty, but then he had his
Oh,
cheater
an empty
tires.
nitrous. Now, whose car was that?
Eric.
Okay. Eric who? Which Eric?
Didn't catch a last name, but a
I did not
YouTube
catch a last name. He's got a
a
YouTube
YouTube
channel though.
channel guy. Yeah, I'm sure Mario could connect us
Okay.
with his YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have his YouTube channel handy because my YouTube on the computer doesn't sort very nicely
Hmm.
at all. So
Bill and I, how far off of their pace were we, Bill? Like in our stock car, stock tires, stock setup,
2.5
stock aero.
seconds ish.
Yeah.
No
Which
camber,
nothing.
no toe in, no nothing.
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 Basically straight off the showroom floor,
Mm-hmm.
minus the little
Yeah,
hiccup you had with the curb.
I think it's a 2023. I don't think it's a 24, is it? Unless
Yeah,
you bought it late in the year.
It's a 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. Did we even remove a spare tire, or was there no spare tire?
There
to
is no
remove?
spare tire, so
Yeah,
no.
I knew we were
Well, that's
supposed to,
scary.
but some of them run with the fix a
Slightly.
flat can.
That's a little on the scary side.
Yeah, if you get a blowout, you're gonna have to call a tow, but
Yeah.
they probably have a can of fix a flat in there for you if you just get a nail.
I did not see one.
Oh,
Well, there should be.
No. It made it easier to clean it out, but
Yeah, it's got the run flats on it too, I think.
oh,
no, not anymore.
No?
No.
Yeah, because I literally was dropping Mia off at school with it, and I hit not even a pothole. It was just that top layer of the pavement, and then there's like the bottom layer. So it was only maybe about an inch and a half, 2 inches, flatten that tire.
Hmm.
And I had to pull into school in the parking lot. And I was picking her up from school, I think it was. And Bill's like, well, just pop the tire off and take it down to, the thing. I'm like, you're going to ask me to jack this car up and leave it in a high school parking lot, and the kids aren't even out of school yet. That's not a good, because there's always those group of kids. They're just up for mischief. So I'm like, no, that's fine. So I even forgot how I got home.
what were the tires on there, Bill? Because I assumed they were the ones that came with the car, but
Yeah, I think they were Continentals.
okay.
Mhm.
Nothing fancy
Thin.
at all. They're not 200 tread wear. They're nothing like what we normally race on. So
Yeah.
No, I don't mean thin, like it's thin from rim to street.
Yeah, low profile.
Yeah.
sidewall.
Yeah. But I think with it, and I wouldn't mind making it like a late spring project or something, but I want to take it in and I want to undercoat it for sure. But we don't even bring it out in winter because when I was driving with the tires that we got off the showroom floor with, and because they're low profile, I was, I think it wasn't really winter, but I remember it was cold. The temperature had dropped into the 40s, and we were on 476 driving north
in the rain.
in the rain,
Ooh.
and the back end was coming around, and it was just hydroplaning, and I just slowed that sucker right down. I'm like, this is not a cold weather car. These are not cold weather tires at all whatsoever. So we end up parking it for the winter, in the garage. And I think that's what we're just going to end up doing until it's undercoated for sure.
The Eric's YouTube channel is Dad Hats.
Ah,
That's a good name.
So it says pretend race car driver. This is
Yeah, talking with his significant other there for a while, she was saying that he's trying to get better and better at driving, and it's working.
mhm.
He's putting in the work, putting in the practice, putting in the study and analysis, and getting faster and faster. Speaking of which, Bill's coaching shaved. What do we want
Two
to
and a
say? It
half.
was that what it was 2.5 seconds
Yeah.
between my first real session and my second session.
Mhm.
Yeah, and a lot of that was driven by that Apex data, I believe.
Apex Pro, yeah.
Yeah, I had never had opportunity to look at something like that before, and so it was really interesting being able to see and interpret, and first looking at the data and trying to figure out what was going on the track that was causing that appearance on the chart, and then saying, all right, is that good, bad, or different, and what should I do different next time? As a analyst by nature and by job, that's
Well, I can send you data, sir. I have Apex
Bill's
Pro
a great
data.
instructor.
I
He's
have
not a good instructor for me, but he's a great instructor.
yeah, yeah.
we've got Apex Pro data, we've got Garmin data, we've got video. I've got it all for you, sir. I just haven't put together a data package yet.
And how much do I have to pay for you to get rid of it so nobody else can ever see it?
Right?
I only list it privately on the YouTube channel. Nobody will see it unless you say sillily that I can, and then I will. But that's a different story.
Uh,
So
No, go ahead.
did you get a chance to? I mean, we were kind of busy, even though it doesn't sound like we were very busy. Well, it was kind of a busy day. We were, socializing and driving and um, making fun of certain things. And did you get a chance to get a feeling for the different telemetries, or did very high level still?
So I found that the voice telling me when I did something good
Mm-hmm.
on track was interesting when I was able to hear it. And to your advice, I was supposed to be able to turn it up, although the first attempt I made at that felt like so much of a distraction that I didn't try it a second time.
No
But
problem.
at any rate, when I was hearing the coaching from the device, it was useful. Um, so I appreciated that side of it. And then probably more to my liking is what we were able to do by running a 20-minute session and then looking directly at the data and going right back out and trying what the data showed, to try different. I've never had that kind of quick feedback and coaching to be able to go right back out and try to apply those things and then see whether it made a difference on same car, same day, same weather, same
Right.
tires, all that.
it does make a difference, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
You
most of
can
my
just,
experiences with long races, and I'm out there for an hour and a half, and then I don't get to try it again until tomorrow. And the traffic might be different, the weather might be different, the
Mhm.
condition of the tires and brakes is likely different.
Right.
So you can't really compare day one to day two, but I could compare run one to run two at this event.
Do you usually run with any type of data going?
No, no, I think in our philosophy, um, we don't really want to push ourselves faster while we're on track, and we generally don't radio in and tell how you're doing on lap times or anything like that. um, I suppose if someone was overdoing it, we might tell them to back it down a little bit, but
Right.
we're I think where we are with the Thunderbird, we know that
Thunderbird.
if we can keep it on track all day, we're going to have a good race. And we don't need to be pushing for fractions of a second to change that, because the moment we start doing that, we'll probably end up with some contact or a black flag of some sort, and that'll instantly knock 5 minutes off of your time and 3 laps.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, you have the open offer if you want to throw an Apex Pro in there with electrical tape over the lights just to
Mm.
gather the data, and we can look at it later or that evening or after the weekend. So,
And that appeals, yes. Having the ability to review it afterwards, but not see it during. I think
yeah.
you talked about like putting something in with a cell phone and turning it backwards.
Yep. I do it
And
every time.
yeah, that appeals.
Hmm.
Although I also used to think that I was going to run a camera every time, and the amount of footage that that created, led to me stopping. I don't run a camera anymore
Yeah.
because I thought it would be great, and then the amount of time it takes to actually go through it all. It might be the same case with the data, but I wouldn't know until I tried it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you want to borrow it, no problem.
Next time I'm up at the barn, I'll be checking under the dash for a ODB connection, see whether it's one or two or not
You don't
existent.
have to have that. That only gives you the OBD2 connector, gives you the
Uh,
car data. You can still get all of the rest of the telemetry for the driving without it.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
speaking of
Well,
which, we got an OBD2 dongle in the Integra, so we need to take that out, Miss Vicki.
Right.
well, I put out the call to the team while we were at the track to start looking for a spare cell phone with a SIM card. So,
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Anybody have an old one? You know what? They're always kicking around.
well,
yep.
even if you put your new one in and you just carry the old one to take pictures,
hmm
the only thing is you'll be out of communication. That's the thing.
All day. Yep.
Yeah. So the weekends where we have lots of Instagram and Facebook posts are the weekends where I don't put the Apex Pro in because that means I have my phone, and you know that's the key to knowing what's going on as far as that. If you see a bunch of pictures, you're not going to get any data. If you see some data, you're not going to get any pictures. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I might have to figure out like if I just put it in my pocket and will I get data from my stint?
yes.
Ooh, I think we might have found a winner there. Uh,
We can figure this out. It's not that hard. It's we've beaten this many times. So
bring it to Pittsburgh. We'll figure out
we're
the
it's
best.
coming to Pittsburgh. I've got how many will I have there? I'll have 3 there, so we'll be
right.
good.
We only need one.
That's true. Well, we need 2, so it works
Oh,
out.
all right, there we go.
So that'll be
Right.
fun. So apparently, between the telemetry and that coach guy you had there, you learned a little bit too much because you ended up beating me.
Well, I did have an extra run to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what you would have done if you went back out again.
Mm.
But yeah, the clock doesn't lie. And
No, clock don't lie.
and this looked like a F1 session, my friend, wasn't it?
It was quite tight.
Yeah.
I think your fast session beat me by 4/100ths, and then the next session after that you lost by 12.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah, I think it was 43
8 or
versus
something.
47, and then 51 was my last session. So that was a pretty tight cluster there of,
It was a nice grouping.
yeah. And
How
that's
many
fractions.
laps do you get per session?
It was 20 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
no, that's about average, but it's a small track, so I imagine you got quite a bit of laps in it.
yeah, although I also and Bill did this too. I caught up to some other folks and had to um, pull off and give myself a little space and then go back out again. And Bill's case, it was like 30 seconds till they threw the checkers, so he just pulled in.
Yeah.
In my case, I went back out and got 2 more laps. But of interest was that I was catching up to and closing in on a Ferrari when I decided I needed to open up a little more of a gap and pulled off the track. So
Mhm.
got to let those Ferraris get a little bit of space so you don't, crowd them.
yeah, I
You
don't want to
crank
touch it.
it.
It's fragile. So.
Fragile.
They're fragile.
Hmm. Indeed, they are.
Oh. So
So,
was it run any differently than, say, a NASA event?
oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously it's it's a smaller setup, but are running the run groups kind of similar?
There were only 3 run groups, and
Mhm.
the rules for 2 of those run groups were either no passing at all ever or no rules at all.
That's kind of frustrating.
So really, I would say that what do they call it, the intermediate and advanced group, Bill,
Hmm.
that was probably the closest to what you're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, they have some peculiarities that we'll just leave it there. Uh, it's not bad. It's just different.
It's smaller.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
they have they have more wouldn't say they have more liability. It's just that they're open to probably the affordability of the liability is probably something they really have to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really boils down to liability insurance. And so if you're uh, in a novice group and that track is relatively narrow, there is no passing at all. If you catch up and you don't want to be on their back bumper, you can either slow down and wait, or you can pull off and get some space.
And Bill, did you get signed off?
Nope.
Bill, are you an instructor?
Not this year.
Are you an instructor?
I'm editing myself.
It's okay. It's okay.
The computer did not recall some of Bill's previous activities somehow.
Oh yeah. Oh, are you looking for something, Bill?
No, I'm editing myself.
So you're editing.
So I will be on a soapbox for the next hour if we go down that path.
It's fine.
Suffice it to say, like I said, the computer did not remember certain things that Bill had already done.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
the track operator follows the computer, and
yeah. So last year you keep milking it. It's coming. So last year I went through and I was put into the advanced group and asked to be an instructor there. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll be there whenever you need me. Just call. So this year I come back and the computer has changed me to beginner. So so I am in the novice group, which was no big deal, except that put Scott and I in the same group, so we couldn't share a car and use it twice. We only use it once a week. And so, let's see, NASA racing license, SCCA racing license, MSF level 2 instructor, level 3's processing. And I'm in the beginner group. But okay, whatever. I'm not bitter, not mad. Just because I wanted to give one of our now friends was there and his fiance was there, and I wanted to take her out so she could see the track and enjoy herself and grow the sport a little bit. And I was precluded from doing that, and that's really the part that's annoying me.
Right. And what were you catching up to while you were out there in that novice group? Was it a C8?
The
Corvette?
two instructors, one was in a C8, one was in a Camaro Z01 LE.
Yeah.
And
you were catching them in an Integra.
Yes. And I rode them for 3 laps. And
with
then
street
I got
suspension.
Off. Yes.
And
yes. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna change subjects now. So good time, Scott?
Absolutely. Yep. Well worth the drive.
Yeah, that was a pretty long drive for you total, that whole day.
Yeah, I'm glad you took care of half of it.
Yeah, I drove to and from the track, and then we had some. I think it was pretty good
Chinese food. You had a break.
Yeah, had a little Chinese and some F1 qualifying.
F1 qualifying. That's right. We got to watch qualifying late, so we managed to avoid the Instagram and the Facebook, and didn't know what was going on, and got to watch qualifying. And
yeah, it's the first time I was surprised by the qualifying result in quite a while, because not exactly a social media blackout, but we were busy.
Busy in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for coming, sir. That was great fun.
I had a great time.
Let's do this again.
We should. And next time you need some help in the hangar, let me know.
No, we've got Friendsgiving coming. So.
It's gonna be winter, probably after Christmas.
Yeah,
Friendsgiving.
We're really busy.
I should have said after pit race. Before pit race, I can't come up, but after pit race, let me know.
Friendsgiving.
Yeah, Friendsgiving. Friendsgiving weekend.
Gonna have a cage party.
That'll be after pit race, so
a little bit. Tiny bit.
It used to be like Black Friday and shopping weekend, but Cyber Monday, babe, it's just don't go out anymore. So it ends up turning into Friends Weekend for cage parties. And,
I have not witnessed a caging in person yet. So
yeah, it's fun. It really is fun.
I bribe with food. It helps.
Yeah. It'll be good.
Willie. So, sir, have we ever subjected you to the Fast and Furious storytime questions?
Oh boy.
Uh, you've asked me a series of questions in my first session, but I don't. If you start asking them into the same, I'll let you know.
Okay, because I lost track of your original sheet has disappeared. So,
Yeah, well, it
uh,
was like 2022,
yeah.
early 2022.
So we've got a few now.
All right.
Miss Vicki, you want to start? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll start them. Let me see. What is your favorite track? And then on your favorite track and your favorite turn on a track.
Oh, you gotta make me pick, huh? Because between Road
There's a lot
America
of
and Pit
them.
Race, um, it's a tough call. I'm
You
gonna
can
go
have
with Road America.
you can tie.
Um,
Now wait, but I have to interject if I'm going to allow you to have Pit Race and Road America. I have to take this as an opportunity for someone besides me, because whatever I say, why would Miss Vicky want to go to Road America?
it is a big, long straightaway, safe environment with some ups and some downs and carousel and um, it's just a fun track to drive in anything with significant horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also driven it in the EXP, which is decidedly less fun, but fun in a different way, right?
Hmm.
So it's there's something about kind of you've got these long straightaways into turn five with a downhill with some rough pavement, a heavy braking zone, and not much room to go off on the outside of that, but enough room that you're not going to get hurt. So lots of people end up in the gravel and get black flagged. You got a little drag race up under the bridge, hang a left, hang a right, hang another left,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you're out on this wide sweeping carousel where if you've got a good handling car, you can take the outside lane and go around people if you trust them. Some of them don't hug the inside, so you can squeeze inside of them and pass them there, and it's a long turn. We run the motorcycle chicane in Lemons, so that part there, takes away the scary element of the kink and the wall right outside the kink. And then there's just this long straightaway down to Canada Corner, which is probably the fastest I've been on a road course car was about 130 in a 944 running down
Wow.
that. Then you come back up out of Canada Corner, you've got an off camber left. And before it was repaved, I was there in front wheel drive car, and there was two ripples in the pavement. You could feel the RPMs increase when the left front tire lifted because it's off camber with some undulations in the pavement. Just a lot of fun. Um, and like I said, there's a lot of room to run off if anything goes wrong. So it's very safe. Um, there's the walls are generally pretty far away. Turn five is probably the most concerning area, and of course this year's Lemons race. And I think 20 minutes into it, they had an incident there, and somebody came to a stop to avoid a wreck, and then got plowed into from behind. So that's the worst thing that happened there that weekend, I believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there's
But
tons of history there. So,
yeah, well, and yeah, so Seepkins down, in what's the name of the town, Elkhart Lake.
mhm.
And of course, now that they've added the parade and the downtown block party, which wasn't there the first 2 years, that even adds more to it. But I do have to warn you, prepare for the weather, and there's not that many places to go to get out of the rain or the cold or order food.
Mhm.
So they were recommending, people bring along food to snack on and an umbrella in case of rain.
Okay. So I interrupted. So we left off what your favorite turn is.
So favorite turn on that track is the carousel
No, favorite turn
ever.
ever.
Um, Gosh, I'm going to switch to a different carousel, and that is MSRH down in Houston, Texas. I was there in a neon that lost its clutch. So we were running the whole lap in fourth gear, and I could carry enough speed up to this carousel that I was repassing people around the outside who had just passed me out of a slow corner because again I was in fourth gear, and then you slingshot off of that onto this wide expanse of concrete leading to the pit road straight, and there's curbing there, but you don't have to pay attention to where the curbing is, so you can kind of straddle the curbing with your left side tires and use that to help keep your grip. And it's just a whole lot of fun if you can get that carousel right and then go zipping on down that straightaway past pit road. You can pass a whole lot of people if you do it right.
Right.
And I like that a lot.
Excellent. All right, sir. I'm giving you godlike powers. You get to make the perfect racing series. What are your roles?
Oh boy. I think I'd stick pretty close to the Lemons formula, and I might just add a class for serious racers because I like what we have.
Just one more notch.
Well, I'd kind of like to take people like us with our Thunderbird, which is never ever going to win overall, and we're just there to have fun.
Right.
And I'd like to separate that from the people who, really sharpen the pencil race after race. And I don't want to take anything away from them. They're developing their car, and I respect that. But we just change brake pads and work on the carburetor a little bit and tighten up the nuts and bolts and go back a race again. And
unless something goes poorly, right?
Yeah. So we've won B and gotten promoted to A, and then ran around an A for a couple of races, went back down to B, won B again, got promoted to A, ran a few more races. And now we always get like, do you want B with some laps or do you want A with no laps? And we don't do it for the trophies. So it's not like I feel like we need to be put back in B so we can get a trophy. But it'd just be nice to have a contest with people who approach it the same way we do.
Yeah, we only view the trophies as a way for us to donate to Lemons of Love anyway. So what's the big deal?
Yeah. I mean, I have an organizer's choice trophy from the Run EXP's debut downstairs, and a Lemons Rally trophy, and I think that's about it for us. Oh, I have 2 Lemons Rally trophies, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not worried about taking a trophy home. We like racing with our buddies, and we don't take it too serious, and we help out anybody who needs help. So we don't want to be in that position where we start worrying about what other people spent on their car and how much they put into the suspension.
Right.
So what is the best racing or driving advice you've ever received? One thing that really resonates. I was like, oh, that worked. That's cool.
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with Randy Pope's Vortex of Danger. It just, especially in Lemons racing, staying out of that zone is an excellent approach to traffic
Staying
management.
out of that zone?
The Vortex of Danger. He has an illustration and probably even some videos out there about it. But basically, it's, if you think about when you drive next to a tractor trailer and they have that thing that says, if you're in these spots, I can't see you.
Yes.
It's the same approach, but for car racing.
Okay.
So if you're in that spot where that driver doesn't know where you are, you're in the Vortex of Danger. And so then expecting that other driver to know you're there and not turn in for the apex, you're asking for a problem. So that's probably the most useful piece of advice I've ever seen or heard of for what we do. I've got a ton of other things that maybe even have helped me more particularly because that wasn't something I was already aware of it when I heard of Randy's concept, and he just put words to it that made it so I could explain it to somebody else. But that's, if you ask for the best piece of advice I knew of, that's it right there. Stay out of the danger.
That's the first time, the first time I ever heard it called that and explained out that way.
I just saw a video a couple of days ago somebody uploaded, and it was, what do you think happened here? And the like second or third comment was, you went into Randy Post's vortex of danger.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I backed up that comment. I replied to that comment with, "Yep, that's what I see." Is
Yep. Don't hit what you can see if you're the passing car.
mhm.
All right, sir. I know we didn't ask you this one because it's relatively new, so you're like one
All
of
right.
the first few people to get it. You own a racing team. You don't know what type of car, and you don't know what type of racing or track. Who are your two drivers?
Am I working with my current community
All
or the
time.
world?
The
All time,
world,
even.
all time.
Oh man.
Because you've got big bucks as a racing owner, you know?
Oh man. Well, and do I have a time machine available to me?
You do.
All right. So I'm going with a young Mario Andretti
Okay.
because man, that guy could drive anything.
Pretty much. Still can.
Yeah, yeah, actually, and he's our neighbor, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Not too far away, anyway.
Not too far.
really?
He's just north of Easton here in Nazareth.
Future podcast guest. He just doesn't know it yet.
I did not know he was that close.
He's active on Twitter, I think. So you might be able to recruit him there, Bill.
Maybe.
So who's my second all-time driver for my new race team?
Mm-hmm. I think
Man.
this question's fun.
Yeah, the second one's the hardest. Because we haven't even talked about what discipline, right? So
Nope.
that's why I went with Mario, because I
We
thought,
don't know.
he did circle track on cinders, dirt,
Yep.
asphalt, road course, Formula One.
Indy,
Yeah.
NASCAR.
I guess probably the second one I'm going to pick is just somebody I think it'd be fun to spend a lot of time around.
No,
And so we're gonna,
besides me.
yeah. Well, there's you, and then there's I think Danny Rick. That's
that guy, Danny Rick. You're
yeah,
going with Danny
yeah,
Rick, huh? All right.
yeah. And for those who people are poo-pooing how he's running right now, I'll say, all right, well, Danny Rick circa 2016, 2017.
Yeah. Is that with cowboy boots or without the cowboy boots?
I think the cowboy boots are a great choice,
Okay.
but I think he only wears those when we're racing in USA.
Coda,
Yeah.
yeah. Miss Vicki, what you got?
What do you feel that you excel at on the track, and what do you feel still needs work?
So I think I'm pretty good at racecraft for the kind of racing we do. Seeing far ahead where the traffic jams are going to develop, picking lanes. I still get caught in the wrong lane once in a while, but I'm pretty good at looking far enough ahead to figure out which lane is going to move, which, people who don't actually lemons race are probably going, lanes, what's he talking about? But
Traffic management.
so I think I'm pretty good at that. And doing it while also not sticking my neck out too far. I don't want to jinx myself, but I've had very, very little contact in 27 races and a dozen years. And what do I think I need to improve on? I would say is the kinds of things you learn from HPDRE and time attack, which is the absolute best lap. So when I get clear track, my laps get faster, but not as much faster as people with those skills. So
Okay.
in lemons, that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I'm not generally the fastest guy on my team when we have clean track. And I think there's room for me to improve there. So like a day which we did on Saturday is the kind of thing, and the data that we looked at on Saturday is the kind of thing that I think would make that difference. So,
well, there's always NJMP in November.
Yeah. And I've thought about someday when money's not an issue, et cetera, like reaching out to somebody like Anthony Maganoli or somebody like that and paying for a day of coaching.
Yeah,
because I think it would be probably the most improvement I have had in a decade of road racing.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do a whole lot of data. There was a whole lot more to be done. We just quick, and it still helped you a bit. So yeah, I would see. All right, Scott, what is the coolest car ever?
I'm going with the C3 Corvette, and there's even a meme about this where the guy sitting in his C3 Corvette, and the kid pulls up next to him and he says, my car could totally beat your car. And he's like, son, your mom's Camry is faster than my car. I literally do not care. And then it shows burnout noises,
Indeed.
So I think that shape is about the, pinnacle of automotive shapes, and you look around like the E-Type, same general idea. Even, more modern, you got like your BMW coupes, the little ones, those had kind of a very similar long hood, short trunk, configuration.
Yep.
So
are you a split window guy or don't care?
Don't care.
Okay. Miss Vicky's like, what's a split window? But that's okay. Miss Vicky,
Right.
your last one for the night. We don't want to kick Scott out too late.
Let me see.
Mine's going to be an easy one for you, Scott. So don't worry. You can put all the time into Vicky's question.
All right.
Yeah. Have you ever owned or driven a car with a bench seat?
Well,
I've been in a car with a bench seat.
So the car I first drove as my daily was a 1980 El Camino, and it had a bench seat. And let's see. After that, I've had like benches with the fold down console in my trucks. And in fact, I bought the trim level I bought on my F-250 to keep that feature. So I could have, bumped it up to the next level, but I would have had the fixed console and not the fold up console. So,
right.
So I still have a bench seat. And then, the LTD had a split in it. So I don't know if that qualifies as a bench seat.
Right.
But it was, if you folded up the armrests, you could slide from one side of the car to the other.
Okay. All right. We're a racing podcast. We're very focused on improvement, hence the in training, So we'll end with a very focused racing question.
Oh boy.
What is your favorite cereal growing up?
Growing up, boy, I don't even remember.
It was Frankenberry. We know that.
It was probably Captain Crunch, and I probably focused on the Crunch berries. And
very nice.
If I remember correctly, I ate all the little yellow pieces first, and then had all the Crunch berries floating around so that I could, finish off with those.
If you so were into this,
the most random question.
If you were into
serious
this,
racing question, Vicki.
Serious racing question. They do sell a Captain Crunch Oops All Berries now, so you don't have to do all that work. So.
Yeah, well, I've watched that as I rolled down the cereal aisle, and I'm kind of dreading the day my kids pick it. But these days I eat more Raisin Bran and Cinnamon Life.
Those are fun though.
That's as sugary as I get for breakfast.
I wish I could say the same, but that's a different story. Well, Scott, thank you for coming this weekend.
Oh, I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me. And we're still going to have to do the dirt track.
We just
gotta wait until the weather's back in the next season, So
yeah,
you'll start hearing from me in April. I'll start pestering you.
Unfortunately, our schedule goes a little crazy for the next few weeks. We're like racing every other week for 5 straight weeks, 3 races.
Most of the dirt tracks are shut down for the year or only running special events at this stage of the year anyway. So they tend to go with the school year for some reason. Not sure why. Yeah.
So that works out for us. Miss Vicki, you been to going and viewing some circle track? We've never done that.
I've never witnessed. Doesn't Bruce race on a circle track? Doesn't he do?
Bruce does some indoor racing, and that's a whole other beast.
That little cart. It's like the little cart, right?
It's like I think a 3/4 midget. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's on smooth concrete floors with Coke syrup down for traction.
With what?
They put Coke syrup on the concrete to give them traction. Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Wow.
Yeah. They actually did something similar at Bristol last weekend, I read, to make the bottom groove competitive with the top groove. They sprayed an adhesive sealant type thing on the lower part of the track at Bristol last weekend to liven up the show.
You should have called me. I could have set them up.
Yeah, if you do a little research, you'll see the company that made it and what they call it. I didn't catch that, but
It's okay.
It's interesting that they resort to that stuff, and it's sticky enough that people lose their shoes when they walk across the track.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It's probably similar to the dragster type stuff, or no?
It might be. I
I have something to do tonight while I'm posting my podcast. I'll be looking. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll report back on the next Garage Years in Training about the. No, we won't.
But yeah, Bruce does indoor racing in a 3/4 midget. They run a little series that runs through, and I don't know the order, but it's, I think, Syracuse, Allentown, Atlantic City, and maybe one other indoor venue.
Yeah,
So,
I think they go to Atlantic City as the traditional one that they have their big festival at.
Okay.
So, and then circle track that we're talking about for Miss Vicki would be what, Scott?
that would be the dirt track. So something like a Port Royal, a Williams Grove, Lincoln. Those are probably the top 3 I would try to get you to. Hopefully we get a mixture of cars. So more likely Port Royal, where we could get some sprint cars and some super late models. I would prefer to get you to that. See a little more variety.
Are you in, Miss Vicki?
Yeah.
Next summer?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Mhm.
All right, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No worries. If people want to interact with you, the easiest way is the unofficial 24-hour Lemons page.
Yep. I keep an eye on it.
You do. You even let me post stuff there, so
I do.
the threshold is low.
We have some very, very select questions. Are you a robot? What's your involvement in the sport? And do you understand that the people who actually write the rules are the experts and not us? Right.
Yeah.
That's basically what we want to know.
And don't be a jerk.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much. So, thank you, sir. It was great fun.
All right. Thanks again for the hospitality afterwards.
No problem. Thanks, Scott.
Anytime. It was fun.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay.